Welcome to episode 216 of the Grip Strip Podcast, a day for Clyde, Scottie, and more edition of the Grip Strip Podcast. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host. Still a tradition unlike any other. Don't have the typical corny Jim Nance line like he had earlier when Scottie Scheffler won his second green jacket, but we're still here. Of course, I have my co-host Tony Romo, a.k.a. the iRacing Indy 500 champion, computer genius, a gentleman and a scholar. His real name is Joshua Fine. What's going on, man?
Well, Jim, a.k.a. Phil, it's been a great weekend, of course. The Masters, tradition like any other, of course. But yeah, I was catching that a little bit, really was curious about Tiger's performance in that, but yeah, Scottie Scheffler with family on the way goes out and wins the Masters. But not only that, but Clyde Elliott coming back to win at Texas, first time in a long time for him, of course, there, and lots of other things that happened. So yeah, ready to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a tradition unlike any other, which is Texas Motor Speedway putting on god-awful racing, and that continued this weekend for 2 out of 3 races. The Truck Series race was a total bore fest, so amazing that we didn't watch it. So it tells you it's getting to the level of Formula One with the lack of quality. Kyle Busch won that over his former protege, Corey Heim. Oh, that was a great run, and he actually won the round itself. Clay Millican ran 336 miles an hour and then still didn't win, yet advance. But wow, that was a great run by Tony. He actually won the round itself, so he earned his way into the final, and him and Justin Allgaier. So there you go. We'll talk about Clyde getting his first win in 42 races, the fact that his teammate William Byron essentially cleaned out Ross Chastain to end the race, which is race manipulation, but, it's NASCAR and Hendrick won and Clyde won, so they're not going to do anything about it. In the XFinity Series, not as much in terms of manipulation, unless you call, manipulating the air, which when they were door slamming each other, Ryan Seig trying to hold on for dear life at the end, going and racing Sam Mayer, who is like the epitome of a dweeb, but can drive a race car. And after what has been a really rough start to the season, gets his first victory of 2024 and locks himself into the playoffs. So that was at all NASCAR races. The roundup, we'll talk about MotoGP and Moto2 at Coda. Formula E ran a doubleheader at Misano in Italy. Supercars will be coming back this weekend in New Zealand, with the defending champion Brody Kostecki making a return to Erebus Motorsports. Rally Croatia will take place for the World Rally Championship. IMSA comes back for their first sprint race of the season at Long Beach. It'll only be, I think, GT or GTD and the prototypes, the GTP cars, I believe, but we'll check the entry list. WEC will be at Imola, and the World Superbikes will be racing at Assen, one of the great motorcycle tracks in all the world. I forgot about NHRA 4-wide here, but we'll have NHRA 4-wide results. Well, there you go. So that takes away some of the fun. Yeah, so first ever Holly factory. Yeah, so we'll talk about that NHRA as well, and lead into previewing 3 events, Chinese Grand Prix, so China. First time Formula One will be back in China in many years, and who will finish behind fish lips there. The Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. IndyCar's return for the first time since the thermal Experiment, which Alex Palou won. Cup and Xfinity will be at Talladega for a yard sale and cousin inbreeding and the whole bit. We'll preview that, make our picks, and then the Tate Fogelman algorithm will come back out of hibernation since it's a super speedway race. Man, Tony actually shaved for this race, so it tells you he must have actually knew that they had a chance. And then Josh will let us know all things going on in iRacing in his sim segment, and we'll call it a day. So first of all, we'll talk about the Masters tournament. It was Scottie Scheffler came in as probably the biggest favorite since Tiger Woods in his heyday at Augusta. There might have been other guys along the way that might have had a chance to be that favorite, but Scottie Scheffler was coming off becoming the first player ever to repeat as the Players Champion. He won at Bay Hill, the Arnold Palmer Invitational, shooting a really low round to do that. Coming back to win at the Players, which was insane. And today, I mean, he went through the ringer. He had birdied 3, got to 8 under, but then he dropped back and doubled, he had bogeyed. Then he followed up right immediately with a bogey at 4, flew the green there, had issues. He was having issues with his irons. And then at 7, he bogeyed again to fall into a multi-way, 3-way tie for the lead. With himself, Ludvig Aberg, and Colin Morikawa as his playing partner. They then both birdied 8, and then the tournament kind of shifted at that point, where Aberg got to within 1 of the lead when Scottie Scheffler basically nearly jarred a shot at 9. The 8, 9, and 10 was essentially where he won the tournament with 3 straight birdies after the bogey at 7. I mean, birdieing the par 5/8 is like almost necessary. You have to do it on Sunday. Birdieing 9 the way that he did was he drove it deep and then got a really good iron there and was literally like an inch away from holing out of the fairway there for an eagle. Then on 10, another great iron shot and good putt, and he got to 9 under. He was then 2 shots ahead of Aberg and Max Homa, who had gotten his way up to 7 under. Colin Morikawa in the process had dumped 2 shots. He doubled 9 and then would proceed to double 11 which then basically took him out of the tournament there. He was then 5 shots behind. Ludvig Aberg went to 11 before that in the group before, and then also hit the water, dropped to 3 shots back. Max Homa went to 12 within 1 shot of the lead, and then proceeded to double the 12th after he hit the ball into the bushes. It had to take an unplayable, then got a double there. So, I mean, that was where, there's fluctuation. Scheffler had dropped a shot. He got it to 9. Then he dropped the shot at 11, but then he birdied 13, birdied 14 with another kick in, and then birdied 16 in the final group that the legendary Vern Lundquist, Uncle Vern's last Masters, used to call the NFL and NBA, SEC on CBS forever. Plenty of iconic calls that he has had, especially at the Masters with Jack Nicklaus in '86 and Tiger Woods in 2005, amongst others. And just an absolutely well-respected announcer, going and calling it a career. Uncle Vern will go off and enjoy retirement, but I doubt we will lose one of the great voices in the process there, so it's a shame. But Vern Lundquist wasn't working as much anyways on the golf coverage. I think he was basically only coming out for the majors, so he had already kind of started cutting back. But thank you to Vern Lundquist for all that you gave to us as fans and to these sports that you covered, because you did such a great job with it, becoming such an iconic voice. But yeah, Scheffler, by then he had taken a 4-shot lead. He had a 3-shot lead basically from 11 on, Homa, or 12 on, and it really he never had a problem after that. And the number one player in the world gets a second green jacket. The last 2-3 years, Scheffler won it, then gave it to Jon Rahm, and then Jon Rahm puts it back on Scheffler. I mean, I don't think that it would be weird to keep on seeing that. It's similar to what Tiger and Phil were doing for a few years when Phil won it in 2004, then Tiger won it in 2005, Phil won it in 2006, and then in 2007, trying to remember who won the jacket in 2007, but I'm forgetting offhand. But either way, credit to Scottie Scheffler. Jersey, originally born in New Jersey, lived his first few years of his life here in New Jersey, and then family moved to Texas, and basically he makes everything about, being a Texan and all that stuff. So whatever, good for him. And his wife is expecting their first child, so she wasn't at the tournament. Definitely be at the tournament next year, because sure with the baby, and we'll see how that all goes. But Scottie Scheffler, a second green jacket. Ludvig Aberg, someone who I think will be a Masters champion at some point, to make his major debut, and to shoot 69, going to shoot that on the final round, and how he handled himself this whole entire week to finish second alone. Tommy Fleetwood started at 1 under, shot 69 as well. Homa had gotten up to 7 under par. The double at 12 basically finished him there, and he lost momentum. He really never got it back. He then bogeyed 17, and he finished in a tie for third at 4 under par. Morikawa fluctuated after getting to 7, got dropped as far as to 3 under, and then fluctuated back, got up to 5, and then dropped a shot on 18 to finish at 4 under par. Unfortunate for him, trying to get a third leg of the Grand Slam, put himself in position to go to Pinehurst in June to win the Grand Slam. Cameron Smith got up to 1 under. He shot 1 under today. Bryson DeChambeau had a rough weekend. He got worse every day. I mean, today he only shot 1 over, so theoretically he did better than he did the last couple of days. It affected Xander Schauffele. He went to 3 under, got down all the way to even, brought it back to 2 under, and then finished at 1. Will Zalatoris got to even, shot 3 under, along with Tyrrell Hatton, the Mad Hatter, that was a good one, good nickname for him, because he's always getting pissed. Cam Young got it to 2 under at one point, dropped all the way back to even. At the end, Matthew Pavone and Patrick Reed, Adam Schenk, Cam Davis, all of those gentlemen will be back next year for the Masters, because they finished in the top 12. Other big names like Josh mentioned, of course, that Tiger Woods, he ended up finishing dead last of all the players that played on the weekend. He got beat by his playing partner, Shipley, what's it called? Yeah, Neil Shipley, who was the low amateur. He beat him by 4 shots, I think, today. So Tiger Woods shot 77, 5 over, and he beat him by 4 shots today. So Shipley played 1 over and finished at plus 12. 61-year-old Vijay Singh made the cut, beat Tiger by 2 shots. Tony Finau imploded. I mentioned shooting 80. He got it to he was at 5 over, got it to 4 over, then started dropping, then leaking oil. Bogeyed 6, bogeyed 7, bogeyed 9, and then doubled 12. So I guess it was a precursor of things to come. Bogeyed 13, bogeyed 14, and 15. So absolutely made a mess of the par 5s, bogeying 3 of the 4. And then bogeyed 17. So yeah, just absolutely imploded on the second 9. Go through some of these other players. I don't know what the heck. That's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, so those are guys that made it through. Lee, you guys shot 3 under. Tom Kim shot 66, shot the low round of the day, started at plus 11, finished at plus 5. There were rounds out there. Some guys were a little more comfortable than others, but Akshay Bhatia, who won his second career PGA event and made the Masters after winning the Texas Open, made the cut. Sahith Theegala's also made the cut. Struggled on the weekend a bit. So did Brooks Koepka and defending Masters champion Jon Rahm. Danny Willett made the cut, then had a rough end to his second round, then promptly kind of blew up on the weekend, the former Masters champ. So those are some of the people that made it through, and definitely will reference this again next year. McIlroy finished at 4 over in his chase to win the green jacket to finish a career Grand Slam. He's going to have to wait another year to do that. So, and with the way Scottie Scheffler's playing, I have a hard time seeing where Rory McIlroy will go and get that done, but he is a great player. And credit to Ludvig Aberg in making that debut, while you have the likes of I forgot Phil Mickelson. He finished at 8 over. VJ making it at 61 years old. So all good things, and get back to normal at least for a few weeks with regular tour events. They'll be at Hilton Head this coming week for the RBC Heritage. It'll be a signature event, but I don't think Scottie Scheffler is going to be there because of Baby Watch. But we'll see what happens with that. All right, so NASCAR ran at Texas at the dump that should be filled with water, and they should hold the Bassmasters Classic there. Instead, they insist on forcing us to watch that crap at Texas Motor Speedway every single year. And in this case, the winner of the Echo Park Auto Trader Echo Park 400 was William Clyde Elliott II, winning a race in the Hooters car, no less. So it used to be a thing where nobody had won in a Hooters car since Alan
Kulwicki. Yep.
So
crazy.
So that's, 32 years ago or something? Yeah. Because it was 1992, yeah. So
32 years ago. Yep.
Yeah, so it ends a 42-race winless streak, double overtime, kept track position, wasn't the clear favorite by any means. He wasn't the fastest car out there, but in the end, he was up front, and he maintained position late, and that's really why he was able to go and get the job done, made great restarts. In terms of some level of passing, there wasn't a whole lot of it, but he was able to do what he needed to do, because starting 24th to go and get from 24th to go and win the race, I guess there was some semblance of passing, but I think most of that work was done on pit road. William Clyde Elliott II goes and wins the race over Brad Keselowski. William Byron was third. Tyler Reddick fourth. Daniel Suarez finished fifth, which is, I think, his best finish since he won at Atlanta. Chase Briscoe started top five. He started fifth, finished fifth in both stages, finished sixth for the race, and spun out with Darrell Wallace Jr. at one point in turns 3 and 4. Bubba got stage points in both stages, led a few laps, got back to 7th. Austin Dillon at one of his only racetracks that he's good at, which is ironic since it's Texas. And Kyle Busch, who had to start tailback after getting into a backup car after wrecking in practice. And Carson Hocevar getting a top 10 finish, rookie driver there for Spire Motorsports, getting that finish. I mean, you look at his teammate Zane Smith had run up front, or was running in the top 10 for a good amount of the race, but then lost track position later in the day to where he ended up further back. Joey Logano was 11th. Ryan Preece, who ran over the defending series champion Ryan Blaney in 1 and 2. He finished 12th. Ryan Blaney basically had to drive around with a damaged race car for the rest of the day. Keebler Gibbs started second, finished 13th. Martin Truex Jr., Christopher Buescher, Texas driver there. Ty Dillon from tailback to 16th, which is something. Chris Bell started third, finished 17th. Kyle Larson won stage 1, was probably the fastest car, but when he lost track position, was in no man's land, finished 21st. Jimmy Johnson got into a wreck late or early in the race and then struggled back to finish 29th. He finished on the lead lap. There were 31 cars on the lead lap at the end of the race because he had so many cautions. Denny Hamlin finished 30th. Ross Chastain we'll talk about in a minute. I talked about Ryan Blaney. John Hunter Nemechek crashed and later in the race, which affected pit strategies. There were wrecks for the likes of Michael McDowell, Josh Berry, Alex Bowman, and Inbred Hill was racing in a third RCR car and finished last, even though at times with strategy was kind of up front. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot that went on. 16 yellow flags for 72 laps, 3.5 hours. The race, and it was a 400-mile race, no less. So you consider how long this race would have been if it was 500 miles. It would have been a nightmare. It was pretty difficult to pass once if you got in clean air. Tyler Reddick had a really fast race car late in the race. Probably was going to go and win that one, and then hit the wall late, had washed up in 1 and 2, hit the wall late, and then really couldn't come back from that. Larson lost track position and never really came back. He had
a tire come off during one of the cautions.
Yeah,
that fell 2 laps down.
Yeah, so that was my fault on forgetting that part. I apologize for that. I mean, that was a big mistake, and that'll be I don't know how many weeks penalty.
2 weeks, I think,
for losing a wheel and losing it out on the racetrack. And I forget how, if they lose the crew chief and the pit road, the tire changer and the carrier. I forget how that works anymore, but
I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, we have Talladega next week, so it won't be that big of a loss.
Yeah, because they don't bother to really change tires, and then on top of it, Larson's already won, so it doesn't make a damn difference. They can suspend. It's Hendrick Motorsports. They suspend crew chiefs, and they race just as good because it's Hendrick Motorsports. But I mean, I can. There's positives to take for some of the drivers, but for Clyde, for Brad Keselowski, especially. Those two guys leave Texas feeling all very good. Of course, Clyde ending a long losing streak after all the crap that he went through last year. How he has driven theoretically with this next gen car hasn't really suited him to go and get this victory. They said there was going to be his first top 5 in a 1.5 mile racetrack in the Gen 7 car at one point during the broadcast, which is insane to think for a guy who has won a championship and has been a somewhat prolific winner over the past few years prior to last year. So a lot going on there, Josh. And I mean, for Elliott, he goes and becomes the third Hendrick guy to win this year, so it's not really surprising. Does this change the narrative for Elliott? Can he now go and build on this victory and kind of get back to being that William Clyde Elliott that was a factor basically weekly? Or is it just an anomaly because of Texas and, what comes with that?
Well, I mean, I think for Elliott, this is kind of a culmination of what they've been doing the past couple of weeks. If you look at his performance this year, for him, he's gotten top 10s in 4 out of the last 5 races here to start off the year. Kind of started off kind of okay, or not really that great, but last 4 out of the last 5 scored top 10 and top 5 in the last 3 races. So starting to pick up some momentum here for Chase Elliott. And the struggles with him, well documented last year, of course, the injury, the suspension last year, and then going back to the middle of 22, they kind of fell off, especially after he got kind of moved out of the way at Watkins Glen back in 22 with Kyle Larson there. So, in that one. So, he's been struggling with the setup of the car since, in that period, and struggled a lot, but it seems like, they've found something here as of late. So, I don't think it's too much of a surprise that he was out there and won. Of course, though, a little bit of the benefit of, kind of the calamity of Texas Motor Speedway. Had to survive a ton of late race restarts to be able to pull this off. So, credit to him there. Chase Elliott battling Denny Hamlin, a couple of laps to go. Denny spins out on the outside there, and then, surviving 2 overtime restarts there to get to the end. Just a big win for him here, especially with the winless streak being over. So it could lead to more wins, but we'll have to see. But they're definitely trending in the right direction as far as being able to position themselves for the playoffs now. And now we go to a track that he's won at before in Talladega. And him being able to kind of leverage this into possibly being up front. We saw Hendrick up front, of course, at the Daytona 500 a ton. So now they go to one of their better tracks where at least 3 out of their 4 drivers have a pretty good chance of running up front. And really all of them, but especially the 24, the 9, and the 48 are adept at running well at super speedways. So now that's on their plate now. So he had a good win, of course, but I think the other thing we really want to talk about is the ending there with William Byron. Just flat out dumping, in my opinion, Ross Chastain. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but just the trajectory of how Ross Chastain was coming off the apex there in the corner, sliding on the outside. Obviously, he's going to have to lift or he's going to hit the wall. And I feel like, Byron definitely had time to prepare for that. Come on, you run iRacing. This shit happens all the time. You should be able to, from that experience, understand how to get around a race car on the last lap. And, I guess maybe lifting coming out of the exit to not run into a guy, maybe that gives up that position. Keselowski was coming as well. So, maybe that factors in, but maybe you've already won 3 races. That was, totally, unnecessary to do that. So obviously Chastain probably feels the same way because he had no comment to the media. So we'll see what they do. I mean, I doubt Talladega happens, but maybe at Dover, maybe cuts him off there at Dover, sends him there. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that was definitely an unfortunate result there for Chastain. P2 on the last lap, going to P32. So which definitely a ton of points there lost. I mean, gets salvaged with the stage win there, but the stage win doesn't really help them if they can't capitalize on getting a good finish there. So yeah, I mean, definitely a lot happening in this race for sure. Lots of cautions, lots of yellows, which typical Texas Motor Speedway. Turn 2, turn 4, Calamity Corner, of course, as we're becoming becoming known to how this track runs. It's like you said at the top of the deal, tradition like no other. Our favorite racetrack, of course, sarcasm there. So I mean, decent. I mean, sure, it was entertaining, but yeah, I mean, just a lot that happened today.
Yeah, it's entertaining if you think processional events are great, and then if you lose track position, then you can't really do anything, and then your yard sailing cars. I mean, it isn't to the extent of super speedways, but there was a story Matt Weaver wrote for whatever that website he writes for it, and he talked about how it's like the most hated racetrack in NASCAR by the drivers because of how weird it is with the stupidity of the two different corners and the surface and all the different things that come with it. The fact that they sprayed grip strip and whatever all over the place, and they essentially ruined the track for other racing series, and then made it so that you can barely even move past one groove out on the racetrack. But Byron going and running over Chastain was blatant and in my mind, race manipulation. We were talking about it before we got on air, and I get here's the thing. It's a Ross Chastain deal. So the point is, at some point, I think he's probably gotten into William Byron. He's had issues with Clyde. He's had issues with Larson. He's had issues every single one of the Hendrick Motorsports guys. So it's not crazy to think that it was a payback. Now, when you're trying to compete for a championship and you know that theoretically Ross Chastain is going to be somebody you're going to have to race with, going and cleaning him out at Texas in April and not thinking that Ross Chastain won't do it back to you is pretty dumb considering Ross Chastain's history. And he's become ever since Rick Hendrick did whatever he did, probably threaten his life or something, whatever the hell he did after the whole Larson thing happened last year at Darlington. He's been a pain in the ass to pass, yes, but he has kind of mellowed out. But here's the reality. People are looking at William Byron, people are talking about William Byron, all this, like he's considered a favorite right now for this championship for a second year in a row. Ross Chastain now has a reason and has more motivation than he really needed. Having one of the biggest sponsors in the sport in Busch, and then also with his other sponsor, Worldwide Express, et cetera, he's one of the best funded cars in the field too. He doesn't have any fucks to give. He'll go and they want him to go out there and be who he is. That's what Justin Marks has said. So if Will Byron thinks that this is the end of it and that he ain't going to get cleaned out at some point, probably in the playoffs, I have a hard time believing that, just because of what Ross Chastain has done in the past. But we'll see what happens. Ending the race that way is pathetic, but, we have plenty of races that seem to end that way these days. That seems to be the new way of doing things, even though it basically makes you look like a douche. But, William Byron, just like his teammate that won the race, part of being a driver for Hendrick Motorsports, you basically have to have the personality of a water bottle. So he would go and bottle it up, so to speak, and cause a wreck that was unnecessary there at the end. Go to the points. The points after this race. Kyle Larson is the overall points leader by 17 over Martin Truex, 28 on Denny Hamlin. Clyde moves up 2 spots to 4th with his win. Byron drops 1 to 5th. 32 and 38 points respectively. Ty Gibbs, Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, Christopher Bell round out your top 10. Chastain, that 30-point loss goes from being, I think, in 7th or 8th place in points and drops back to 11th. I mean, it wasn't a full-on 30-point loss. I have to go and look at that again. He would have finished, since he was 32nd, he got a stage win, 10. That's 10 points. And then he got 5 for finishing in 32nd. So, yeah, he finished. So, yeah, instead of, you would have probably 10 plus 40, it would have been 50 so you would have been, it's actually 35 points, or it would have been a 35-point gain, if he had finished, in second place, but, oh well, that's why there's, so many races to go here this season. Chase Briscoe actually is 12th in points. So that means that he is the second best Ford in the point standings, which is amazing to me. Because I think that's probably his second, maybe his best run or second best run of the year. And he was in tailback. Him and Bubba wrecked with each other at one point, and somehow or another he's the second best Ford points wise. Buescher, Bowman, Logano, and Kyle Busch round out the 16, but Daniel Suarez has won a race, so Kyle Busch is outside of the top 16 in points at the moment, tied with Joey Logano. So in theory, both of them are outside looking in. So that's that. Talladega we'll talk about later there. XFinity Series, definitely a very interesting race. The Andy's Frozen Custard 300, and Justin Allgaier dominated, won both stages, ended up getting a third place finish, but late in the race with restarts, that Justin Allgaier went and had an incident with Leland Honeyman that affected his race itself and ability to go and finish the job. Unfortunately for him, it's been a struggle trying to finish out races, not of his own doing, so there's that. Teammate, though, gets the win. Sam Marin, a photo finish over Ryan Seig. Allgaier, Allmendinger, Custer, who started second in the race sponsors car there. Inbred Hill, Ryan Truex, Sammy Smith, Jesse Love, who started on pole, and Anthony Alfredo getting a top 10 finish. There were 25 cars on the lead lap. Riley Herbst had run up front for a good amount of the day, but then had issues late in the race tire wise and hit the wall and lost a lap, having to come onto pit road. So that's why he ended up finishing further back. Buckshot Jones is running up front for a good amount of the race, finished fourth in both stages, but in the end finished 13th. Taylor Gray, Josh Williams finished just ahead of him. Kyle Sieg was 14th. Chandler Smith finished second in stage one, finished 50th. So, I mean, Allgaier won both stages and dominates the race, Josh, but in the end, the story will be Ryan Seig and how close he got to getting his first career Xfinity win after being in this series for God knows how many years. And then Sam Mayer, after a rough start to the season, going and getting that first win of 2024 and essentially locking himself in to the playoffs the way Xfinity Series is going right now.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Allgaier left the race with the third place finish, but honestly, with the way how that ended, that's probably a lost opportunity in this race. I mean, he hasn't won yet either so far this year, and dominated this event, but gets into Leland Honeyman, at the end, towards the end of the race, like with 25 laps to go, less than, and kind of touches off this finish here, because that kind of set up the opportunity for Ryan Seig to go out there from 10th, go up to the lead in the closing stages of this race. But with Seig and his ability and the opportunities that he had over the many years, hasn't been able to win a race yet as one of the small team guys in the Xfinity Series, but has an opportunity here to win and steals the lead on coming to the final lap. But Sam Mayer just goes and sends it into turn 1 and 2, and he's able to go out on the backstretch, pass him, and then send it into turn 3 and 4, but loses it. And Ryan Seig comes back on the inside, gets a little loose, and coming to line, you could see him kind of steering to the right to try to slow down Sam Mayer's momentum into the wall, kind of like what Cale Gale did in his first win back in 2012 against Kyle Busch there. But that was a really exciting finish to watch. I mean, kind of shows the difference between Xfinity Series and the Cup Series, how they race, and at least here they were able to kind of have something here to look back. And yeah, one of the closest finish that we've seen in Xfinity history, literally by probably like 1 or 2 inches for both of those cars. The difference there, the time difference is like 0.002, and I mean, it was really, really that close, and even closer than the finish that we saw at Atlanta this year, or similar looking. But I mean, I feel like this one feels a little bit natural more than the Atlanta finish one was, although I think both looked really exciting to watch here. And of course, the closest finish I think is with Tyler Reddick over Elliott Sadler from Daytona in 2018. So Junior Motorsports actually has the 2 closest finish in the history of the Xfinity Series here. So that's, and probably 2 of the closest finish that we've ever seen, period, in NASCAR. So they've somehow been able to do that. But I mean, for Sam Mayer, goes out here and gets his win, finally now he can get this monkey off his back and kind of get his way up into the standings to try to give himself better seating for the playoffs. I don't know if he's good enough to win the regular season title or anything like that, and you'd have to go on a massive run here with how many races that we have between now and the playoffs in the fall. So there's still a lot of time, but you'd have to be dominant every week, and I think just hasn't been there. But certainly the luck hasn't been there either. But now the luck for him starting to turn around. So I mean, this is a really really interesting race to watch for sure. There, at least in Xfinity, like I said, you can actually kind of pass, and it's because of the downforce to power ratio that these cars have compared to the Cup cars, and you're actually able to do something here. So that's kind of a difference there. But at least you saw a really good finish here, and definitely saw a lot cleaner racing than what we saw here on Sunday in the Cup Series.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, pretty straightforward either way. I mean, you think about like they mentioned with Allgaier dominating, I mean, I think it's just a matter of time till he goes and wins. He will. I mean, he just kind of always seems to do that. So just a matter of time. But right now it's been a struggle a little bit at times. And it just happens, just seems to happen that, the way the cautions and going and racing with some of these people that are some of these squirrels that are out there that probably shouldn't be out there. I think that's part of what happened, part of the reason why, but it's unfortunate either way. The points for Xfinity leading into Talladega after this past weekend's race. Chandler Smith continues to lead the points by 19 over Cole Custer, 33 over Austin Hill. Allgaier is minus 56, and Jesse Love is minus 76. Then mention how close the points battle is. 17. There's 7 points between Herbst, Allmendinger, and Sammy Smith. 17 points between Herbst and Parker Kligerman. Sheldon Creed rounds out the top 10. Ryan Seig and Bruckshot Jones are the 12, but you have Sam Mayer who will jump in there, and he's ahead. So Ryan Seig is the cutoff. It looks like. I think that he is there. And Eric Almirola has only run 4 races out of the 8, and he is better than a good number of the drivers that have run every single race. Somebody like one person like Jeb Burton, who won at Talladega last year, to make the playoffs right now is 28th in points, so something to look at there. And then, so we'll see what happens accordingly. Now, Truck Series, Kyle Busch led 112 of the races, 167 laps, second win of the year, 6th at Texas, tying him with Todd Bodine for most wins in a truck there, 66th win of his Truck Series career. The results get through them. They're going to have nearly a month off, or at least 3 weeks off, till their next race. Kyle Busch over Corey Heim, Nick Sanchez, Christian Eckes, Zane Smith. So there was 2 Spire trucks and then 2 McAnally trucks. Well, actually 3 McAnally trucks there with Eckes, Zane Smith, Daniel Dye. Then the Gray brothers, Taylor and Tanner, Stephen Parsons finishing 9th, and Ty Majeski finishing 10th. Wow, Lawless Allen actually finished 11th. That's crazy. Raja Caruth, 12th. The Eyesore, which was Friesen's truck, finished 13th. Crafton, here you got Johnny Sutter around 45. Talked about Connor Jones last week. He finished 18th. Lane Riggs got in wreck. I think he got into a wreck. You had Chris Wrong driving in the one truck, got into a wreck. Because why wouldn't he? He sucks. Grant Enfinger got in a wreck as well, lost a bunch of points. Dad Moffitt, Memphis Villarreal, and Tyler Ankrum wrecked on the first lap, and also Raja was involved in that, so that's pretty weak. Kyle Busch winning a truck race is not shocking. It being pretty processional, straightforward, only 17 trucks out of the races, 34 were on the lead lap. But you look at the guys that are theoretically the favorites for the championship, Corey Heim, Christian Eckes being 2 of them, Nick Sanchez, who won earlier in the year, but has been kind of, I guess we could say, not the most consistent, but getting up there, being able to get those finishes, that is good for this, setting themselves up for later in the season when it really counts during the playoffs, which of course their playoffs start in the summer. But yeah, Kyle Busch gets a victory, surprising absolutely no one, Josh.
Yeah, surprised no one. that Kyle Busch won and, mostly dominated this race. But, I mean, I have a real hot take in that Kyle Busch isn't going to win a race and cup this year with how XFinity and, Truck and how they're doing. I mean, they are doing a lot better there, but Cup, the RCR effort has been really good this year and been out to lunch for much of it. So my hot take right now is that Kyle Busch actually goes winless here to start off. I mean, he's winless so far, but the rest of the year, I don't think he wins in Cup at all. And all his victories are going to come in Xfinity and in Truck Series. So that's what I'm kind of thinking right now, because I just not confident in RCR at all. I mean, I thought he was going to be better based on how he did the first couple of races, but then lately hasn't been doing quite as good there. So that's a really hot take, but we'll see if that happens. Otherwise, yeah, Corey Heim getting within 3 points of Christian Eckes there. So a little bit of a compelling battle in terms of points in the Truck Series. And, for Heim, I mean, it's definitely a lot of momentum there for him as, they continue to go on throughout the season. So, we might have a very compelling points battle, between the two of those, and maybe even Ty Majeski, as they're kind of all separated by only 11 points in the rest of the field. Nick Sanchez, 27 points, back to Eckes there. So lots of guys with wins as well, like Caruth. But in terms of, who's going to be there for the regular season battle, you have to look at those three drivers for who we could be looking at as far as regular season title. But yeah, to the surprise of no one, Kyle Busch goes out here and, actually wins a race for once in the Truck Series.
Yeah, I don't think the longer this season goes, it's going to become much harder for Kyle. And to be fair, the RCR equipment, even last year, I think after they won a Gateway, the bottom fell out for them. Yeah, and so they haven't been the same since then. And their performance has dropped off precipitously. You have Dylan, who's just basically a waste of a seat, the Lance Stroll of NASCAR. And, I mean, they're a bad team. I mean, they're basically in the same realm as SHR, competitiveness-wise, which is why it was more shocking to me that Briscoe is the second best Ford points-wise right now. I mean, he's close with Christopher Buescher. The Fords in general have had a bad start to the year outside of Ryan Blaney, but even for Ryan Blaney, he had a rough day today. So, but in terms of, the Kyle Busch take, I think it's going to be very hard for him to win a race this year if it isn't a super speedway or, something with a strategy on a road course or something like that. I don't see them having this speed on regular ovals. It's just 1.5 mile tracks. They don't have speed. They don't have speed on short tracks. Bristol is one of his. I mean, there's not really many places where Kyle Busch is bad at, but like Bristol's one of his houses, and they were complete dog shit there. And how you can have Kyle Busch, who's won I don't know how many races Bristol, and you can be complete dog crap there is really, really bad. But it's RCR, so I mean, I guess you get what you pay for there or whatever, and just unfortunate, really. But for some people, probably really happy that he's not going to be winning any cup races this year, but we'll see what happens with that. He did win on Friday, and he seems to have, even though it isn't his truck anymore, definitely feels and seems like he's driving like that. So the point standings, though, with the regulars, Christian Eckes leads by 2 points over Corey Heim, Ty Majeski third, Nick Sanchez in fourth, Taylor Gray in fifth, Tyler Ankrum and Rajah Caruth. Those round out really the seven that are somewhat contenders The top 3 separated by 12 points. Then you got 4 through 7 separated by 27 points. All 4 regulars that have won are in the top 7. Then you have Matt Crafton, Tanner Gray, Grant Infinger rounding out the top 10. Daniel Dye, 5 points out of the cutoff. Ben Rhodes, a defending series champion, 2-time series champion, 6 points behind. Then you add more there to Friesen, Bailey Curry, and Jake Garcia are tied from there. So see what happens with the trucks. They're going to take a few weeks off before they come back at Kansas for their next race. So we'll go forward, just trying to go and take care, adjust that. Yeah, doing a little delay. And then we have, so go and minimize all that. And we'll move to the GSP roundup. So, MotoGP was at COTA this weekend. Maverick Vinales gets the victory after Marc Marquez, who has dominated at COTA over the years, of course, riding a Ducati now, goes and wrecks out of the lead. So that for people, I guess that karma train it has to keep on going with that. But in this case, he wrecked out of the lead here at COTA. Maverick Vinales gets the win by 1.7 seconds over Pedro Acosta, the rookie, the defending Moto2 champion, racing for Gas. So the KTM junior team, their second team, Enea Bastianini finishes third. Jorge Martin finishes ahead of Pecco Bagnaia. So Ducati's taking up positions 3rd through 6th with Fabio Di Gianantonio in 6th. Alicia Espargaro, Marco Bezzecchi, Brad Binder, and Raul Fernandez finishes 10th for Trackhouse Racing. Miguel Oliveira, his teammate right behind him in 11th. Quartararo, Miller, Alex Marquez, and Luca Marini rounding out the points finishers. Luca Marini didn't get a point, actually. Alex Marquez, the last person to get a point. Gusto Fernandez was 14th there. Alex Rins crashed on the same lap as Marc Marquez, Joan Mir, Morbidelli, Zarco, and Taka Nakagami had issues both on the same lap. The teammates there at LCR Honda. The standings for MotoGP, Jorge Martin is 21 points ahead of Enea Bastianini, 24 points ahead of 24 points ahead of Vinales, 26 ahead of Acosta, and 30 ahead of Pecco Bagnaia. They're in 5th. In Moto2, the Grand Prix of Americas, Sergio Garcia gets the victory by less than half a second on Joe Roberts, so credit to Joe Roberts there. Felipe Aldeguer, Alonso Lopez, Manny Ramirez, they're the teammates. The American Racing Team teammates finished 2nd and 5th. Foggia, Iagura, Alcoba, Aaron Canet, Celestino Vietti, Tony Arbolino, Albertinas, Gonzalez, Moreira, and Philippe Salic round out the points finishers there. The points after the Grand Prix of the Americas for Moto2, Garcia leads by 2 points over Roberts. Lopez is 13 points behind Garcia, tied with Aaron Canet. Iagura 5th, 18 points behind. And then Gonzalez, 21 points back there in 6th. So we'll see what happens there. Moto2, as they move forward, there. And then Formula E ran at Misano for a doubleheader. The last lap round Verline takes round 7. The results of the Misano race 1 was initially Antonio Felix da Costa was the winner of the race, and he got disqualified after the race itself, handing the win to Oliver Rowland for Team Nissan. Jake Dennis, the defending Formula E world champion, was second. Max Gunther third for Maserati, coming off of his win in Tokyo. Dick Tantrum for ERT was fourth. Mitch Evans fifth after starting on pole. John Eric Verne, who started second, he had damage, sustained damage. Finished sixth. Norman Nato, Andretti seventh. Van Dorn, Sasha Fenestraz, and Luca de Grassi finished in the top 10, got points. And then in round 7, Pascal Wehrlein gets the win in fastest lap over Jake Dennis, Nick Cassidy, Nico Muller, Fenestraz, Sergio Sette Camara, Verne, Hughes, Jan Deruvla gets points after starting 21st, finished 9th. Sam Bird rounding out the top 10. The standings heading to the next round, Verline and Dennis are tied at with 89 points. Oliver Rowland DNF'd in race 2. Verline did not score points in the first race at Misano. Rowland is 9 points back. Nick Cassidy is 13 points back. Oh, Doug Coletto won. Oh, lovely. Yeah, of course he goes and lays down and runs a bad run in the final. But yeah, Nick Cassidy 4th, Max Gunther 5th, Verne Evans 6th and 7th, Sam Bird, Jake Hughes, Norman Nato, Stoffel Van Dorn. So it's a close battle from 9th all the way through to 16th. 25. Yeah, it's just 7 points separating all those drivers. So something to look at as we get later on now into the season in Formula E. Supercars will be back at in New Zealand. So the Repco Supercars Championship. Just the season results. So the driver standings at the moment see Will Brown leading the points over his teammate Brock Feeney by 17. Chaz Mostert is third. Nick Percat and David Reynolds rounding out top 5. In terms of season results, Chevy has won every race. The Red Bull team has won 5 out of 6 races, with Will Brown winning 2, Brock Feeney winning 3. Which is, but Will Brown's been more consistent. So we'll see if Red Bull continues to dominate or if somebody else or Ford can actually go out there and win for once. Let's see. Yeah, WRC Rally Croatia. WRC Rally Croatia coming up this weekend. It'll be a dirt, roller coaster, asphalt, road surface, boom. So it looked like dirt, but it's actually an asphalt rally. So that changes up things a little bit compared to racing in the mud or on the dirt itself. So in terms of the Rally 1 category, 8 cars in Rally 1, good amount in Rally 2. Which is essentially a 3-car class. Well, maybe more. The Sebastian Ogier will be racing this weekend in a Toyota, the 3rd Toyota. You have Hyundai. Andreas Mikkelsen will be in the 3rd Hyundai. Then you have the 2 Fords, Formo and Munster there. So. And then the points heading into this round of the World Rally Championship sees Thierry Neuville leading by 6 over Efren Evans. And Adrian Forlow was third. Otanek fourth. Cali Rovumbera, the two-time defending world champion who's running a limited schedule, is in fifth. Katsuda, Ogier, Lappy, Solberg, or Lappy is eighth, and the Rally 2 cars, Oliver Solberg and Sami Pajari, rounding out the top 10. The IMSA race. IMSA will be back this coming weekend at Long Beach. It is GTP and GTD racing for a 100-minute sprint race. Be 10 GTP cars running the full calendar. Proton Competition doesn't have a second driver listed on the entry list, but everybody else is there. You have the other Porsche for JDC Miller, the customer Porsche, Cadillac, and then Whelen Engineering, the two Cadillac teams, Porsche Penske Racing Motorsport with their two factory Porsches, and then the two customer cars mentioned, the BMWs, then the two Wayne Taylor Racing Acuras with Andretti. So then in GT Daytona, 17 cars. Vassar Sullivan is going to run two cars this weekend in GTD, Monte Calvo and Hawksworth in the 12, and then in the 89, Ben Barnicoat and Parker Thompson. Other cars, Stephen McAleer announced as the full-time replacement for Catherine Legg, who announced she'll be racing in the Indy 500, or at least attempting to race in the Indy 500 again this time, running for Dale Coyne and Rick Ware in the 51. So might have played a role in why her and Sheena Monk aren't teammates anymore. Flying Lizard Motorsports is back in GT Daytona. Something. Some of these other guys, not really sure. But yeah, you have 17 cars in the GTD class, 27 total, and they'll be racing at Long Beach for a sprint race there. The next order of business is World Endurance Championship. World Endurance Championship. The mission for both hydrogen cars. Oh, okay. So there's a second race of this season, the 6 hours of Imola. They got different points. So Andre Lauderer with Kevin Estra and Lawrence Van Doorn are leading the points in their Porsche over Callum Milot, Norman Nadeau, and Will Stevens. Fred Makowicki, Matt Campbell, Michael Christensen, Robert Kubica, Robert Schwartzman, Yaffe, rounding out the top 5 in points. And that's for the drivers. In manufacturers, Porsche leads Toyota by 15, Ferrari by 20, and 23 on Alpine, and 29 on BMW. And so in the World Cup, Hertz Team Jota leads AF Corsa and Proton Competition. The LMGT3, Malaikin, Sturm, and Klaus Bachler lead the points over Alex Riberas, Mancinelli, and Ian James. So that's for LMGT3 drivers, LMGT3 teams. The Manthey Porsche 92 over the Harder Racing Aston, D-Station Racing Aston, Team WRT 46 BMW, which is the car for Valentino Rossi. Then the AF Corsa team is in 5th. So the entry, we'll see if they have an entry list on for Imola. They have overall. So 37 cars will start in hypercar. They got 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 cars in the GTP or hypercar category, and then 18 cars in GT3. So it should be an interesting race since Imola is basically devoid of passing areas outside of, I think, the turn one, at the Parabolica chicane. Outside of that, there really isn't another passing zone anymore there, so probably going to be a processional race. World Superbikes at Assen, they are racing there. The results, I mean, that Nicola Balega leads Alvaro Bautista and Alex Lowe's by 12 points, 16 points over Toprak Raskat Lioku, and those are the contenders early on in the season in World Superbikes. And then NHRA, I mentioned the 4-wide at Las Vegas this weekend. There was, that's not what I wanted. And, go and do the Mission Food Track Racing Series. Bob Tasca getting the win with a hole shot. And then you had other veterans, Doug Coletta and Jed Coughlin Jr., winning their respective classes. So Tasca with Funny Car, Doug Coletta with Top Fuel, and Jed Coughlin Jr. With Pro Stock. Standings, they haven't updated the standings on the website as of yet. In terms of the Top Fuel final, I mentioned Tony Stewart was in the final, finished third, I believe, out of the fourth out of four in the quad that he was in, so he gets a semifinal appearance. So that's the deepest he's went in a race so far. Qualifying is still a struggle though for that team. So yeah, that's the roundup. Well, we're done with that. We can get into Chinese Grand Prix and who's gonna finish behind Fish Lips. Started last week, so Josh, you get the first dibs on who finishes behind Fish Lips.
Yeah, I mean, Chinese Grand Prix, first time we're having the Chinese Grand Prix since before COVID 2019, so this is going to be a very fresh with this race car that we've had since 2022. So a little bit different here, but I mean not so much. But it's hard to go against Max Verstappen winning the race. So yeah, Max wins the race. Behind him, gonna go with Charles Leclerc finishing in second, and then Sergio Perez on the podium.
All right. So yeah, I mean that's pretty solid. Of course, I mean that's not really too shocking. I'm going to go Fish Lips to win, and then I'm going to go with Carlos Sainz and Perez to round out the podium there. I don't know if Mercedes is going to bring upgrades. I don't know what Aston Martin's trying to do. And then those are the top two teams, so something to check out as everything goes on there. One thing, now it's been a while for the IndyCar Series, but one of the majors for the IndyCar Series is taking place this coming weekend with the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. So, Josh, I'll go and give you the floor for a few moments to just talk about, the history of Long Beach. Been around a long time, the longest running street course race in the United States, I think the most famous street course in the U.S., and one that has seen Formula One, has seen IndyCar for a bit longer than I've been alive. There was a thought of NASCAR for like 2 seconds, possibly stealing the race, which would have been a cluster. But in the end, IndyCar's had plenty of time off, and now they're going to start their season in earnest. They had the test at Indianapolis, albeit a truncated test, but Kyle Larson was able to acclimate very well to his car for McLaren and Hendrick cars, and it's promising. You're probably going to have to race in traffic and get that experience. But Larson hasn't done like crazy destruction to vehicles like some of the other people that have come in from other disciplines. But yeah, let us know what you're thinking in terms of Long Beach, Josh.
Yeah, to start off with, I mean, obviously Long Beach Grand Prix, probably besides the Indianapolis 500, probably the most iconic race that we have on the calendar for the IndyCar series. And yeah, NASCAR being interested for 2 seconds was a wild storyline to hear with that, obviously, and thankful that the IndyCar people were able to go and grab that stake that was available from Kevin Kalkoven. But yeah, definitely something that they should not have done there with NASCAR trying to put in a bid for that stake, because then that would have effectively ended the history of this Grand Prix as far as IndyCar is concerned. But as far as the current day IndyCar series, there's a lot to look out for here this weekend, of course. Joseph Newgarden coming off of a huge win, dominant win all the way back in St. Petersburg, of course. You also have Pato O'Ward finishing, who was on the podium there. Scotty McLaughlin podium as well. And then, of course, we had the exhibition all-star race over at the Thermal Club, which was won by Alex Palou, thoroughly dominated. Felix Rosenquist was also very good on that course as well. So you just have a lot that happened there, which that one also feels like a long time ago. But now we're back to regular IndyCar racing here this weekend at Long Beach, and this is going to be a challenging race, of course. The streets, very, very tough, especially turn 11. Very tough corner to master there. Going to be a lot of incidents that might come out of that corner. Also have the long straight on the front straight of the Long Beach Grand Prix, going high speed all the way down into turn 1. Lots of opportunities there to pass. Very iconic corner as well, going into the chicane with the fountain. Very, very iconic racetrack, of course. But starting off for this race, I mean, want to pick Joseph Newgarden, but I'm going to go with Alex Palou here to win this race. I think the momentum from the Thermal Club Challenge, I think that's very important for him to kind of reassert himself as the guy in this series. Newgarden, of course, I think he's a lot better on road courses this year. But I think street courses, I feel like Alex Palou is still the guy to beat here. But that doesn't mean that Newgarden won't have a good race. Just given how Palou has done in the past, I think Palou, he's won here before. So yeah, I think he can win here at Long Beach here at the Grand Prix. As far as the wild card goes, I'm gonna go with. There's a lot that we can go here. That so we've only one run race, so it's like data is very interesting here. But you know what? I'm going to go with Santino Ferrucci here as a wild card. He had a good run at St. Petersburg, finishing in 11th, of course. Looking at the results for IndyCar, I don't know if they have I wanted to see how he did at the Thermal Club, but I don't know if we can see that here on Racing Reference or not. But they're trying to improve here with AJ Foyt Racing. They have a bit of support here from Penske, I believe, but they, so give or take how good of wild card that is, but they've been improving, and he's always been a guy that puts a lot into his efforts as a race car driver, especially on ovals. But let's see what he can do here at the most iconic street course race that we have here in America.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one to see if the Penske support is going to make a difference there for AJ Foyt Racing. It made a difference at St. Petersburg. They were able to move up start 14th, finish 11th, so there is something to that. Chevrolet had the top 4 cars in the St. Petersburg race. Then you had 3 Hondas. Chevrolet had 6 out of the top 10 at St. Pete, so something that comes, you can take something from there, maybe not. At Thermal, there was 5 Hondas in the top 6, and I think there were 9 Hondas that made the main event. So 4, 8 Hondas that made the main event and then 4 Chevy versus 4 Chevys. So what can we really glean from that? I don't know. To be totally fair. In terms of the Long Beach Grand Prix, you look at the history, a recent history of Long Beach. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to utilize Racing Reference as well. And click on Long Beach itself, see if it works. Kart, NTT IndyCar Series, drivers at this track, show active drivers only, and the best driver there that is still in the series, of course, Alex Palou, so that was a savvy pick there by Josh. Kyle Kirkwood is defending race winner. Won his first career race there. William Power has raced 15 times at Long Beach, won the last kart event, and then he's won once with the NTT IndyCar Series. Joseph Newgarden has won there once. You got, and looking at some of these other drivers, at Dixon, 1 win in 14 starts at Long Beach. Average of a 10th place finish there. Felix Rosenquist has 2 top 10 finishes. Rossi has 2 wins at Long Beach. So just a few of those guys. I think for me, choice I'm going to go with, I was thinking this, and I am going to go with it. I know that they're trying to put more of an emphasis on qualifying. So if that's the case and they're able to get in the Firestone Fast 6, Scott Dixon's going to be really hard to beat. And that's going to be my pick. I'm going to pick Scott Dixon, the legend, the 6-time champion. So I'll pick Scott Dixon. So both of us pick Ganassi guys to win the race on Sunday. In terms of the, trying to see they don't have the event detail, they don't have they don't have the entry list there, which is not great. I guess we can look at the standings. That's the way to identify who all the regulars are. One race, of course, is only one race, and then that one exhibition event took place there. Can't really glean much. In terms of a wild card, I'm gonna go and put. I'm gonna go with Arenas VK. I know that Arenas VK, he's had a up and down career, and sponsorship has been an issue at times for the Ed Carpenter team, but performance has been a problem as well, especially on road courses. So we'll see. I mean, he did well at St. Pete. He was able to kind of do the best he could at Thermal. So we'll see what happens at Long Beach. Next will be the Cup and Xfinity at Talladega. So I have to go and bring up the entry list for the Ag Pro 300 at Talladega. They don't have, because we're doing it earlier in the week, don't have an entry list as of now for the super speedway race, but I guess the easier way to come up with who will probably be there is looking at who showed up for the first 2 races of the season. So it's bringing up the entry list for Daytona and then the entry list for Atlanta. They had 38 for 38 at Atlanta. Most of the regular people there, no real deviations. I think Jeffrey Earnhardt was in the 26 car. That's a difference. JJ Yaley, looking at that. So entry list Daytona was 44 for 38. You had Baccarella. You had David Starr driving for Carl Long. Stanton Barrett for Mike Harmon. Frankie Muniz. That one. And so it's, I think, you gotten the first 2 choices. I guess that means I'll go with both NASCAR picks, I guess, or I don't really care one way or the other. Usually my picks don't win, so I'm going to pick Austin Hill to win. So I put the reverse jinx on him at Talladega. He will be running both races, running for Beard, I think, Beard Motorsports. Gumby Hill. No, that's Inbred Hill to win. My wild card for the race is gonna be, and it is a stretch because he won this race last year, but he's 27th in points and has had god awful luck. And generally speaking, not been relevant for most of the races since he won that race at Talladega last year. So Jeb Burton is my wild card. That's that. So Josh, you have to pick 3 people. Your winner and your wild card, and then of course the Tate Fogelman algorithm.
Yeah. For me, I'll start off with the 2 guys that are actually my picks. But looking at the standings here, I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick Sheldon Creed to win the race. I know it's out there, but hey, he was second there on the last lap of the Xfinity race back in Daytona, and probably could have won that one. So let's not forget, even though he hasn't had a great start to the year, he's been pretty decent on super speedways in his career. So I'm going to go with him winning the race. And I guess, I'm going to go with Josh Williams, wild card. He's been having a bad year so far and finally had a top 10 finish last, 2 weeks ago at Martinsville. So, let's see what he can do here this weekend, especially at a track like Talladega, where, if you're not having a good season, you can definitely turn your season around, just like what you said with Jeb Burton there. So now we go to the wild card, and it's really going to be the algorithm. It's really going to be a wild card here, especially not having an entry list. So we're going to have to hope and pray that it actually comes up with a number that's right, based on what we've used it in the past here. But let's see if I can get this to work. Who's in the 91 car? Mute.
I think it's been a mix of drivers, but usually Kyle Weatherman.
That's really out there.
Yeah, so we'll just put 91 car there as the DGM 91 as the Tate Fogelman algorithm. There you go. All right. So that's a good pick there, and I think maybe that's part of what that'll probably make it more fun that way. So
yeah.
All right. So the last but not least will be the Cup Series Geico 500 at Talladega. I'm going to bring up restrictor plate races last 10 over there at Racing Reference. I'm going to bring up Talladega. Here they don't have an entry list either, but would venture to say that you'll have the Beard team show up for that race. The 78 car
SVG also is racing Talladega, I think.
SVG, I think I'm not sure which, if it is this race or the fall one, but I know that he's running limited races and Cup, so
just double check that real quick.
Yeah. I'm gonna bring it up there.
Shane Van Gisbergen will drive the 16 for Colleague in his 7 races. Coda, Talladega, Charlotte. So Talladega in May.
Talladega. So all right, so that'll be interesting. I mean, he'll make the show, so that's not a concern, but it's something that he only has done twice. He did it at Daytona, and he did it at Atlanta in a XFinity car, which is a totally different animal than driving a Cup car, especially on a track like Talladega. So I'll start off here, and I mean, it's easy for me. I'm gonna go with Blaney. It's one of my favorite drivers, of course, but I feel like I'm pulling a what's his name used to do. He's like, oh, he's one of my favorite drivers. He like half the field. Adam, when I did the old shows, but YRB, one of his best racetracks is Talladega, so going with the statistical favorite, even though Talladega is not one where theoretically following statistics really matters, but is Ryan Blaney to win, and then the wild card, I think, is I have to go look at the points on the Cup Series side right now. Driver points, how many people have run every race, is 35. It'll be 35 the whole year. So do we go and do 17 or we do 18? Either way, I don't think it really changes a whole hell of a lot. Guess to make it harder, I guess we go top 18, which means Daniel Suarez isn't a wild card, so I think that's fair since he won a super speedway type race anyway. I'm gonna go with Michael McDowell. He's had I don't think the runs, some of the runs they've had this year are indicative of the speed that the front row team has had. So points wise, they've struggled, but I think the front row team has speed, and they showed it at Daytona. McDowell qualified on the outside pole for the 500. They were qualifying well. They've had pace. It's just, the strategies and things kind of falling a certain way. So you never know, especially now in this manufacturer-based format where they're dictating it based on the brands. But McDriver is wild card for me. So picking a couple of Fords here. Josh, you grimaced when I said Ryan Blaney, so gonna assume that was what you were thinking as well.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I think there's a few guys that probably wouldn't be bad choices. One that has a good record at Talladega as well in recent years. A couple of them. So, it makes it a little more difficult. He has the best average finish over the last 10, but there are other guys who are up there as well. What do you say for your picks and the algorithm?
I was going to actually pick Ross Chastain to win this weekend, given they ran well. At the end of the Daytona 500, he's won at Talladega before. And he's a guy that on the super speedways, especially, his driving style definitely favors him running up front towards the end of the race and trying to make a move for the win. We saw what he could do last year, which he did not win that race, but we've seen how he's able to stay up front in some of these races. So I'm gonna pick him to win the race, and then my wild card pick will be Ryan Preece, who another Ford that can run up front at the super speedways. We've seen him do that as well before, and definitely a guy that needs a good result, being buried 24th in the standings, one behind Michael McDowell there. So that's a guy who needs a good result here, especially Talladega. The great equalizer, like Darrell Waltrip used to say back in the day there. So gonna pick him. And then the Tate Fogelman algorithm here, it says Eric Jones gonna win, which that's a reasonable pick there. Eric Jones has ran well here in the past at Talladega, and definitely a guy who is doing a lot better than what he did in 2023. So, and we'll see if we can get a legacy, formerly known as RPM, car here in the playoffs, or back into playoff contention, sitting in ninth place in the standings. So yeah, I mean, it should be an interesting race. Of course, Talladega is always interesting. One thing to consider is with the Daytona 500, how that kind of turned into a fuel mileage race for the first two stages there, and how they're running half throttle, and you saw kind of what they were trying to figure out, with the nature of it, how the first early caution kind of allowed them to do that. If the same situation happens again, do they follow the same strategy, or do we see other teams just decide to go for broke and try to race in the middle of the race? So that's definitely an aspect now that we have already seen that. Do we see it again, or are they able to continue racing and at least make it look normal compared to what we saw at the Daytona 500? So that's something to definitely look into. Keep in mind as we're watching this race next week. So definitely looking forward to, obviously, one of my favorite racetracks, of course, but definitely looking forward to watching and seeing how this all plays out.
Yep, and I mean, we'll see what happens with that and talk about it on episode 217, but with Talladega, you never know what you'll get there. But that fuel mileage thing that you brought up from what took place at the 500, I'm curious if it'll be a similar thing too, because it'll definitely affect the racing. It'll make it very, very boring for good amounts of the race, since it's a long slog driving Talladega. Really need to get to about 50 to go, and that's when really all the craziness starts there. So it takes a while to get there. You run two stages by that, of course, and then you got to that third stage and you're still alive, then everybody starts losing their mind there. So we'll see what happens with that. Place where you can go and race Talladega with cars from today, but then also cars from 1987 is iRacing, and someone that's really good at it is Josh. So let us know what's going on there. Sim segment time.
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, the sim racing here on iRacing, been doing a lot of more road racing lately, but of course, this week going to have Talladega's on schedule, so that, as always, Talladega in the sim is on the schedule with Talladega in trucks, Xfinity, and in Cup, obviously. So, looking to run some Talladega racing here and seeing how that plays out. I might actually, if I have time, try to do one of the iRacing Series official races here. It's a longer race at 94 laps, so I think that's like half distance of the real life race. So maybe looking into that, of course. So yeah, Cup, Xfinity, and Truck all at iRacing or on at Talladega Super Speedway. So that should be fun. The 87 cars, surprisingly, are actually not on the Talladega racetrack this week. Instead, they're on Kansas for some reason. I don't know why. iRacing schedule makers, I mean, I guess it can't be too aligned with Talladega, but I feel like, with NASCAR, that all the oval series that they have for NASCAR and iRacing could have at least tried to align the schedule in real life for, tracks like Talladega, where, a bunch of people are going to try to play and, try to go earn safety rating or I rating or whatever, actually probably lose safety rating because a lot of people are probably going to wreck and all that stuff. So yeah, definitely looking like an opportunity to get a win. Possibly, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Definitely, but obviously, top 3 series is going to be in that one. Let me see if Gen 4 Cup this week at Charlotte this week. Okay, so I guess they can't all be there at the same track, but it definitely opens up the opportunities. I think ARCA. Let's see, ARCA, are they at Talladega? No, they're at Auto Club for ARCA. So at least there's a little bit of schedule diversity, I guess, but can't cater to them all. But it'd be kind of cool if they all just ran at the same track for the whole thing. You just have the same or at least different, because they all handle kind of somewhat differently and all that stuff. So you got that IndyCar racetrack here. Let's see where they're racing. So IndyCar is actually going to be the iRacing fixed series is going to be on Long Beach. So I think they're trying to match the real life schedule here. And this is actually the first. So since they've gotten IndyCar back onto the iRacing servers here officially, you have the Sebring was the first one, then Auto Club, Magello, Sonoma, Texas, and now Long Beach is actually the first official race on iRacing that actually aligns perfectly with the real life schedule. And then the week after that, Barber Motorsports Park, and then the Indianapolis Road Course, Motegi, and then the Indy 500, of course, and then the Detroit Grand Prix, which is at Belle-Île on the iRacing service, because they haven't scanned in the new road course that they have, street circuit that they have in Detroit. But IndyCar actually lining up for the first time in a long time, lining up with the real life Long Beach circuit, which this might be the first time that in iRacing where they've had the Long Beach circuit race competitively, because they obviously last year took off. Trying to think if they did. They might have, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So yeah, the IndyCar there, the IndyCar on the Oval Series, IndyCar Class B Formula Car race. Trying to look here. Let's see. The actual IndyCar Series, Class B Road Series. The same schedule. So now it's all the same schedule now, but one's formatted longer than the other, and I think this one is open. So that's IndyCar on iRacing, which glad that that's back, of course, for obvious reasons and everything. Sports car this week. The racing that I've been on in sports cars, Class D production car challenge, which Toyota GR86 been racing in that one at Summit Point Raceway. Definitely ran a lot on this, and I've done well with multi-class racing so far. So it's always a challenge. Surprisingly, they're about the same pace, honestly, as the Miatas, especially if you're very competent in running the Miatas. You can actually run just about as good as the Toyota GRs. So that's definitely a challenge there, especially when you're fighting for your own position and then somebody in the lower class actually comes up and is able to overtake you. So, and especially, running top 10, running possibly for outside chance at a podium for class, or top 5 or something like that in class. So, it's a good step into multi-class racing here on iRacing, and they're 25 minutes, so they're not too long, but definitely a lot of aggressive racing there, running hard, definitely not giving a lot of room at certain parts of the racetrack, but having a lot of fun doing that. So ran pretty well there. I think for me this week, probably just going to focus a lot on Talladega and the Cup Series side. Probably will do some Miata racing as well. Looking at this, what's next on the schedule? Laguna Seca and the Miatas. That's probably one that I'll be trying out for sure. GR86 class series, Sebring. They're at Sebring this week. And then the production challenge that I talked about, they're Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. So that's a little bit different. They do have the Rainmaster Series this week. Actually, at Sonoma, so which I think is rare for Sonoma to have rain, but iRacing has decided to put Sonoma as the next race in the rain challenge 15-minute series, so rain master series there. So always a good challenge to go out there, try that. So we'll see maybe in a couple weeks once I have a track that I have that I haven't purchased, or have purchased. So probably a week after the Rain Master Series they compete at. So not this week, but the following week, Laguna Seca. So another track that probably in real life is pretty rare to have rain. So you have that, and then Long Beach the following week at the end of April. So yeah, I mean, of course, there's always a lot of opportunity on iRacing, whether you race in the rain on the road series, race on the dry in the road series. We want to go oval race with Cup or with IndyCar, with sports car as well, with any car, and with dirt racing as well. Can't forget about that, and rally racing, or at least with dirt road racing, I guess is what the official class is called. But it's basically just like dirt, rally and stuff like that. That's on iRacing. So yeah, I mean, there's always a lot of opportunity, of course. So definitely be on lookout. Probably have to do something here on iRacing this week, of course, with being Talladega week. Hopefully don't get taken out of the big one, and hopefully stay out of it. So looking forward to competing in that. Of course, when I stream, of course, follow at Twitch TV uSailor2. Go on there and subscribe or follow, and go on there and watch. We'll be sure to put on some Talladega later this week, hopefully. And then, of course, Twitter page, which, gonna have to retweet this onboard cam of Chastain and Byron. Looks like there's more evidence now that Byron just flat out dumped him here on the backstretch and didn't really give a care about Chastain and everything. So I'm gonna have to retweet that and raise awareness and stuff. So hopefully Chastain goes out and wins this weekend, of course. So kind of that's why I'm picking that there. So yeah, go and follow at JP Huffine there. So I already gave you commentary on there, so we'll give more commentary on here as well. So yeah, that's that, of course, and also follow our YouTube page, Gripster Podcast, which will be uploaded, and you can go and watch and listen or whatever on there, and subscribe to our page, and subscribe and like and comment on our shows and everything. So yeah, of course, a lot that happened this week, and now we're getting to the thick of it here as we progress further into the year with all the racing and stuff. So yeah, interesting finish today here. So looking forward to seeing how Talladega plays out. I'm sure it'll be more exciting than whatever we saw here at Texas this past weekend.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it will be, and then there'll be other craziness and goofiness that goes on, that is super speedway racing, and then being in Bumble F, Alabama too, for a family reunion. But yeah, you can find me at PG Matthew 28. You can find us at Gripster Pod on Twitter. You can find me Philip G Matthew 28 on Insta. Find the Gripster Podcast basically anywhere you listen to podcasts. We upload on podbean.com, philipgmatthew.com. Obviously, you got the YouTube page. Josh posts the video feed. The audio is up to date for all the episodes. It's out, and should have this one out, fingers crossed, next few days. And yeah, we're definitely picking up. Got a lot going on. All three major series that we discuss here on the GSP are going on this weekend, or this coming weekend. So we will have plenty to get into for next week's GSP episode 217, talking about Talladega, talking about Dana, and then of course the Long Beach Grand Prix for IndyCar. We'll talk about all those things. So for Josh, I'm Phil. Thanks for listening to Gripster Podcast. Let your friends know about it. Go and listen to it and support us. And we'll see you next time.